This is Eric Vernon with the law firm of Baldwin and Vernon in Independence in Jackson County, Missouri. I wanted to talk today a little bit about gun laws. And I'm mostly going to be talking about Missouri gun laws, although the federal gun laws are not real different. And I may mention the federal laws a few times. But there's always these cases in the news involving weapons, murders, and assaults, and people getting arrested for carrying concealed and whatnot. And you always hear people say, my gun was registered, as if it's part of their defense or something. And I always think to myself, what are they talking about? There is no gun registry. Now, when you buy a gun from a dealer, from a federally firearm licensed dealer, you do have to go through the background check, and you have to fill out the paperwork there at the store, and then they keep it at the store. But it doesn't go to any central registry. It doesn't go to the ATF. Now, the ATF can usually find those things, but they have to work at it to do it. They can't it's not just in their system as a registered firearm. And in fact, that's one of the things I wanted to mention was that you can sell a firearm in the state of Missouri to another citizen in the state of Missouri without having a federal firearms license. You only need the federal firearms license if you're going to make it your business to do that. But if you have, the gun that you inherited from your father, or the .22 that you bought when you were 22 yourself, and you want to sell it now, you can sell that legally to another Missourian. There are definitely some ways that you can violate the law with a firearm, and you may be surprised about some of them. So I wanted to go through sort of a list of ways you can run afoul of the law with a firearm. First of all, there's some weapons that you do have to have a special license for. In fact, I would say without the special license, they are illegal, and those are fully automatic firearms, explosives, short-barreled shotguns, those kinds of things. Also, you can be what we call a prohibited person. And when I say we, in the legal industry, in the criminal defense industry, we refer to people that are not permitted to own or possess firearms. And it's possessing too. Even if it's your brother's gun that's in your hands, you're possessing it. That would be against the law if you're a prohibited person. I think most people understand that felons are prohibited persons. Other people that are prohibited persons are people that have been ruled incompetent by a court. And you have to, for mental reasons, and you have to actually be found, have a court finding that you're mentally incompetent for that to be against the law. You could be a fugitive from justice. So if you're under indictment, if there's a felony charge against you, or even a misdemeanor charge against you, and you have a warrant for your arrest because you're not showing up in court, that would be illegal for that person to have a firearm. Also, and this is one of the ways a lot of people might be surprised that you can be a prohibited person, is if you're subject to a order of protection. So if you stalked your ex-girlfriend or got in a fight and your wife went out and got an adult order of protection against you, you would be prohibited from possessing a firearm as long as that order of protection was in effect. In fact, I've had to advise clients, take your firearms to your brother or your dad or whatever for the duration of the order of protection. In the state of Missouri, it's also against the law in some places to carry concealed weapons. You can't have trap guns or spring guns, so you can't, if you've got a barn that you're afraid that you're never in, and you're afraid other people are going to sneak in and steal stuff from you, you can't set a gun to go off as somebody opens the door. That's just against the law. Here's another way that's really might surprise people: is it's against the law to wave a gun in an angry or threatening manner. So if you're threatening people, or you're waving it around and giving people the idea that you're going to shoot at them, that's against the law. It's also against the law to possess a firearm if you are intoxicated. And that could be drugs or alcohol, but yeah, booze and guns do not mix, and they do not mix legally as well. Also, it's against the law to shoot a firearm within 100 yards of a church, a school, or a court. You can't shoot a firearm across a roadway or a street. You can't shoot into or out of a vehicle. You can't shoot at a person, at a building, or at a vehicle unless it's in self-defense. You also can't be carrying a firearm or possessing a firearm while you're also possessing a controlled substance that would result in a felony. So if you have cocaine or methamphetamine or one of those kind of substances in your pocket, you would be violating a completely different law by possessing a firearm. You should also know that employers are allowed, even in the state of Missouri, to ban firearms from their workplaces. So you can be fired. If an employer says, don't bring your concealed firearm onto the premises, and you do, the employer is well within his rights to fire you. That is pretty much what I have to say today about gun laws in the state of Missouri. Now that's not everything there is to be said. There's a lot more ways you can violate the law, and there are some defenses. So this is not a comprehensive discussion, but those are the basics of gun laws in the state of Missouri. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Eric Vernon with the Law Office of Baldwin and Vernon.